Thanks, Admiral. Can you just talk to us about the feasibility of moving the entire civilian population out of Rafah? Is that even physically doable?
There's a lot of folks there, MJ, more than 1 million. Some estimates have it almost at 1.5 million. That's a lot of people that move down to Rafah to get out of the fighting. And so again, the task of providing for their safety at that number and in such confined spaces is difficult. There's no question about it. That's going to be a heavy lift. For any military, it would be a heavy lift. But that's the conversation that we want to keep having with our Israeli counterparts. I don't know what it's going to look like. We can't tell you what it's going to look like. That's really for the IDF to speak to. But it absolutely has to be accounted for.
But do you think it is a realistic goal, that it is viable to try to move those people out of that area?
Well, let's see what the Israeli Defense Forces come up with.
And if they go ahead with the ground incursion anyway, before the civilian population can safely be moved out of that area, would there be any consequences from the U.S.? I know Trevor just asked a question about, potentially stripping, military support or security assistance. What would the consequence be for Israel if they went ahead and did that anyway?
I don't want to get into hypotheticals on that. We've been very clear with our Israeli counterparts privately and publicly about what our expectations are for the treatment of the innocent people that are down there near Rafah. And we're going to continue to, as I mentioned to Trevor, we're going to continue to support Israel. They have a right and responsibility to go after Hamas. We're going to make sure that they can continue to do that. But as from the very beginning, we want to make sure that they do that in a way that fully accounts for the preservation of innocent life and civilian infrastructure.
And just since the president is about to meet with a close ally that publicly supports a ceasefire in Gaza, can you just talk to us about whether the president's thinking on that has evolved at all? Is he a little bit closer to potentially supporting that publicly than, say, a month ago? Has his thinking on that evolved at all?
We haven't changed in terms of our desire to see an extended pause so that we can get all the hostages home with their families where they belong, so we can get additional security assistance in, and we can see a reduction in the violence. We are still focused on trying to get an extended humanitarian pause.
I'm asking about a permanent pause.
I know what you're asking. What I'm saying is we support and continue to support an extended humanitarian pause.